So I did a panel recently with a couple of really smart friends, with Mark Moss, with George Gammon. If you don't know these guys, I highly recommend you follow them. They're amazing guys. And at the end, kind of asked, what advice do you have for people looking to take advantage of inflation and for investing, and just what would you say? And they both said pretty much the same thing. They really said you need to find your edge. And what that means is in an area that you feel like you can actually win at. In general, Wall Street is set up to beat you. It's going to do anything it can. It does have some unfair advantages, but there are certain areas as a smaller investor or as somebody with a business background or somebody who has special skills that you actually can take advantage and stick it to Wall Street and be able to use that. Now, Matt Damon says this in the movie Rounders. He says, after 30 minutes at the table, if you don't know who the sucker is at the poker table, then you are the sucker, right? So, I don't want you to be the sucker. I want you to learn what your edge is and how you can take advantage of it and how you can make a lot of financial resources, you can protect the resources that you have, and that you can win when it comes to investing. So we're gonna jump into it. We've got 3 awesome points and a great quote for you at the end. Let's do it. Okay, so I want to share with you how I discovered my edge, or really, I guess more honestly, how I discovered what my edge was not, right? So this was a day I did a video on this where I was in my medical scrubs. I used to be a medical device sales rep. I would go in with doctors and surgery and help them with their equipment. And I remember coming out of surgery, sitting in my car, getting my laptop out, and having the revelation that I had lost $70,000 in one day when that was about a third of my net worth. And that was a terrible day. You can imagine how you'd feel going through that, right? So I felt absolutely awful. So I learned that this options trading and a complex options trading strategy was not my edge, right? That was not what I was good at. And then over time, I started to get some mentors and learn, and I realized that real estate investing was something I was really good at. I was really good at finding and analyzing deals. I've been able to have conversations with 1,300 investors over the years. I'm really good at talking with investors, explaining financial ideas to them and investments. And I've been able to 20x my net worth in the last 4 years. So I found an edge there, right? We've raised $30 million now to buy apartment buildings like this one and to buy other alternative assets and invest in ATM machines and other sorts of, just unique things that are out there. So understanding and explaining macroeconomics, these are all things that I discovered are an edge for me. So when it comes to real estate, I actually have a way that I can really win. And I want to talk to you about kind of maybe how you can discover your edge. All right, so how do you discover your edge, right? I talked about how not to discover your edge or how you learn about how not to do it. But most people, if you ask them, is it better to work on your strengths or your weaknesses? In the US, 60% of people would say, I need to work on my weaknesses because these are glaring weaknesses and I really need to improve because these are really areas of deficiency. Now in China, it's more like 80% would say I need to work on my weaknesses. But there's this test called the StrengthsFinder test. If you're not familiar with StrengthsFinder, it's an awesome test. You can take the book or to get the book and take the test. It's awesome because it talks about the idea that people don't become world-class because they're average at everything or they're mediocre at everything, right? They get their weaknesses up to a certain point. They become world-class because they're phenomenal at one thing. And so the area of most improvement that you have in your life is an area of strength or an area of passion or an area where you can have an edge. So you look at LeBron, you look at Michael Jordan, you look at Michael Phelps. These are guys that really took that very seriously and said, I'm going to be really, really good and world-class in this one area. I'm going to follow that passion. So what does this look like? What am I talking about when it comes to investing? What I'm talking about is if you have a business background, can you use that in your investing life? When you're looking, maybe you're good at numbers. Could you be somebody who buys businesses, right? What about, are you a doctor? Well, could you help other doctors, to invest? Or could you start a meetup for other doctors? Absolutely. I know some doctors that are doing that. Are you an engineer or a CPA? Well, maybe you could be somebody who finds real estate deals and analyzes them, right? So, if you can do something that you can get into a business that it's hard to copy because you have a set of skills that not everybody has, right? You can get into it and you can say, I'm going to do this because I have a passion for it and I'm good at it and I can develop it. A lot of times we come to investing, we think, I've got no other skills. I've just been a business person. I've just been a salesperson, whatever. Well, I didn't know for me being a salesperson was one of the best things of working with investors, right? I learned that, man, I've had all this time talking and communicating and not in a used car sales kind of way, and no offense to the used car salespeople, but I basically found a way to do sales in a really high trust way that builds a relationship with people, and that's very transferable when it comes to working with investors. So really an edge is really important to have. Now, if you're racking your brain, you're like, I don't really know. I don't know if I have an edge. Well, I would say here's an edge that everyone can use. Okay, I would say don't fight macro trends. What that means is when the Fed is saying we're going to print a bunch of money, don't bet the other way, right? Like, the idea of being a contrarian investor is good, but if things are going a certain way, inflation is high, don't fight it. Just find out how you can actually take advantage of it, right? So right now, one thing I'm getting into as much debt as I can. It's kind of funny to say that. Some people say, why would you be getting as much debt as you can? Well, I'm getting as much debt as I can. It's not talking about credit card debt or other sorts of bad debt or buying boats or other things. I'm basically saying I want to buy as much real estate as I can. I want to get as many personal lines of credit or doing other things to be able to use that money to invest at a higher rate. So if I can get rates of 3, 4, 5, 7, 8%, and inflation is actually more like 15 to 18% according to shadow stats, then I can basically invest for the long term and I can do very well in inflation hedged assets. So you can passively invest in multifamily real estate deals like this one behind me. We love it. We work with investors. I've got a high amount of my net worth in multifamily real estate. I think it's a great place to be. I think it's important, whatever you invest in, that you understand a deal. Make sure the deal makes sense. And I always try to, one thing I look at in a deal is, what is a way that I could lose money, right? So you're going to have in every single deal, you're going to have a business plan. And, as Warren Buffett says, we don't invest in anything that we don't understand, right? So if you don't understand how the deal works, then don't do it. Don't invest in it. But it's something that you can take time, really understand the business plan, see if it makes sense for you. And if you like it, you feel like it makes sense. But it is important to understand the risks, understand how you could lose money, and make sure that you're comfortable with how that could work. So there are safe and solid investments that pay you to hold them. I've talked about this. There's things like multifamily, there's self-storage, there's mobile home parks. There's many things out there that you can do. But these are, again, edges that you can use in a time of high inflation. It's not really rocket science to figure out, okay, if inflation is high, what do I need to do to take advantage of this, right? So in summary, really try to find what your edge is. It could be in a business, it could be doing multifamily investing, it could be other types of investing, but really learn. That's how you're gonna really improve your edge, really, is like learn from really smart people. Watching videos like this is obviously really gonna help you, so well done for that. And really don't be the sucker at the Wall Street table. So if you're gonna play at that table, or any table, just make sure that you actually do have an edge and you have a reason to be there. Now I want to share this quote with you. I love this guy, Peter Lynch. He wrote a book called One Up on Wall Street, which I love the name. But he says, your investor's edge is not something you get from Wall Street experts. It's something you already have. You can outperform the experts if you use your edge by investing in companies or industries you already understand. You hear that? He talks about the investor edge. There's things you understand that Wall Street doesn't understand. There's things that you understand that a lot of other people don't. So if you can just simply use that to your advantage, you're going to do very well over time. So if you're interested to learn more about this, I put together this video about how millionaires are made, what no one will tell you. There's some secrets in there just that I discovered about millionaires. Spoken with over 1,300 millionaires. I think you'll enjoy that video. And then also, if you haven't joined our investment club, you're not hearing about these awesome deals that we're doing. We're doing deals in the energy space. We're doing deals in multifamily. We're doing deals in the ATM machine space, which is very unique. So check that out down below. Thanks for taking the time to educate yourself. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.